We are continuing the coverage on Russia and Ukraine and the developments that are changing literally by the minute. There are so many questions such as, is the US going to fight Russia? How does the war between Russia and Ukraine affect the US? Why should we care about Ukraine? And what does the rest of the world think? And these are all very, very legitimate, valid questions. And hopefully, we can answer some of those for you. The US has been warning for weeks this attack was going to occur. In fact, it couldn't have been laid out any better by President Biden and his administration. Unfortunately, not everybody took heed at first, and now we are in the middle of a full-out war. Early Thursday morning, around 6 o'clock Russia time, President Putin announced he was having his troops conduct a special military drill in order to demilitarize Ukraine. He was given permission by Russia's Duma, or their legislature, to utilize their troops outside of the country. Russian troops came in from 3 different sides and has literally been taking over Ukraine. And now remember, Ukraine was officially recognized independent from Russia after the war back in 2014, when it agreed to give over all of their nuclear weapons to Russia in order for Russia to recognize their independence. Now, on Monday, Putin decided to recognize 2 independent provinces in eastern Ukraine. Then after that declaration, he moved in the military for the excuse of peacekeeping operations, and then said due to Ukraine's regime, they now had to invade to protect Ukrainian citizens. Exactly what the US said he would do. Now the world leaders have come together in a series of emergency meetings in order to come up with sanctions each ally would present if the invasion occurred. And since it has, sanctions have now been given, which we will talk about in just a little bit. So one of the questions Americans have is, are our US troops going to fight? According to President Biden, the short answer, no, not in Ukraine or directly with Russia. And since Ukraine is not a member of NATO, the United States is not obligated to send their troops. However, we have sent troops to countries surrounding Ukraine because they are NATO countries or members, and the same with the other countries. They are shoring up NATO forces in order to protect NATO territory. And you've probably been hearing the terms and words NATO and the UN, and sometimes people think they are the same thing. They are actually 2 different organizations with 2 very different philosophies. NATO is an organization designed to fight war if necessary in order to defend peace, whereas the UN is an organization to avoid war in order to maintain peace. However, both of these organizations are now working together to try to de-escalate what is already occurring. So what is it with Ukraine anyways, and why should we care, and how does it affect us? Well, here's just a few of the many, many reasons we should care about Ukraine. And as noted by a meme that is floating around social media, it is the 2nd largest iron ore reserves in the world. Ukraine is 10th place in the world in terms of titanium ore reserves, 13th place in the world for shale gas reserves, 4th in the world by total value of natural resources, 7th in the world for coal reserves, 2nd in the world for barley production, and 4th in barley exports, 3rd largest producer and 4th largest exporter of corn in the world, 4th largest producer of potatoes in the world. I mean, the list goes on, and even states that Ukraine can meet the food needs of 600 million people. So besides that, what Putin is trying to do would set Europe back decades. Here in the US, we will definitely see prices increase, such as gas and food, and the global economy as a whole is taking a hit. So what does the rest of the world and their leaders say and are going to do about this? Well, some members of NATO, the UN, and the UE have issued sanctions. Britain, Australia, Japan, Canada, Germany, and the US are banning travel, targeting elites and their families, cutting them off from financial means and banks associated with Russia in order to try and get Putin to rethink the situation. Pretty much the rest of the world sees Putin's move as a complete violation of international law, except China. China is still maintaining the US started the conflict by providing weapons to Ukraine, and they have still not recognized Russia's actions as a tactical invasion. Instead, they have asked all parties to exercise restraint. Look, I know that was a lot of information for you to take in today, and trust me, more is developing minute by minute, but this story and this issue are important and it will affect us here at home. So stick with us here at HYFN TV as we bring you the newest developments of this story.